Hey Tube, welcome back. When to choose between SQL and NoSQL in your system design interviews. So, choosing between SQL and NoSQL databases is a critical decision that depends on the specific requirements of your application, including data structure, scalability, performance, and development needs. So, let's make a guide to help you to decide when to choose SQL, which is relational database, versus NoSQL or non-relational database. I will start by an easy thing. We could say that by default, we will go with SQL database. Okay. And there are some conditions that will make us go with no SQL database. I will talk about everything in a bit, but for now, I'm just trying to talk on a high level. So when we choose NoSQL database, I would say if we have high scalability requirements, for example, scale requirements, Rick. Okay. So, for example, if we have a chat application and we need to store all the chat messages, and the chat messages are a lot, really a lot, we should store them in distributed databases, and NoSQLs shine in that. So if we need horizontal scaling, because NoSQL databases are designed for horizontal scaling, allowing you to distribute data across multiple servers or clusters easily. Also, big data. If your application needs to handle large volume of data with rapid growth, NoSQL is often more suitable. For example, social media platforms, big data analytics, and real-time analytics systems that require scalability to handle massive amounts of data. The second thing, if we have unstructured schema, unstructured, oh no, let me just do this right, unstructured schema, okay? I'm trying to improve the way I'm right here because it's not good at all, as you can see. So NoSQL or have a flexible schema. So NoSQL databases allow for a flexible schema, making it easier to store unstructured or semi-structured data like JSON, XML, or documents. Also, it's dynamic schema. You can modify the structure of documents without affecting the overall system, allowing for more flexibility. An example for that, a content management system, social networks, and IoT applications where data formats can vary widely. I would say also if your application have high availability requirements, since availability requirements, I don't know if I'm typing availability right or not. Okay, so since built-in replica and fault tolerance, many SQL databases are designed with replication and fault tolerance in mind to ensure high availability. Also, there is something called eventual consistency comes with this one. NoSQL databases often prioritize availability and partition tolerance over immediate consistency, making them suitable for distributed systems. Example for that, distributed logging systems, messages system, and application requiring high availability. Number four, I would say you go with um, a NoSQL database for if you have a data models beyond tables. Beyond tables. Okay, so for example, if you have a document store for storing and retrieving documents, if you have a key value store for fast retrieval of values based on keys, if you have for column family store for handling wide column data with high write-read speeds. If you have a graph store for applications involving complex relationships and graph structures. Example for that, a graph-based social media networks, a real-time binding system, and content personalization engine. Okay, so we took that. We by default we will go with SQL, but if we have one of these conditions, we go with NoSQL. But in your system design interview, you cannot say to your interviewer that by default I go with SQL. You should have a proper reason because not by default is not enough. Okay, let's talk about why we go with NoSQL. First, let's just do that like that. First, if we have a structured data with defined schema. So if our data is structured, structured, second, SQL databases enforce a structured schema with tables, rows, and columns. If your data is highly structured and you need to enforce data integrity through ACID, which is ACID properties, which is atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, SQL is better choice for this one. Example for that: financial applications, ERP systems, and inventory management system where data consistency is crucial. Also, if we need a complex query. Complex queries. So joins and complex queries. If you need to perform complex queries, including joins, aggregations, and nested queries, SQL databases excel at this one. It's excellent choice at this one. And also there is multi-row transaction because SQL databases support complex transactions involving multiple rows and tables, making them ideal for application requiring a high level of consistency across operations. Example for that: e-commerce platform needing complex queries for order processing, inventory updates, and payment handling, for example. Let's talk about number 3, but let's just take it from here. I would say also if you need to establish ecosystem and tooling. So in this one, it's an ecosystem, establish an ecosystem. And tooling. So a mature ecosystem, SQL databases like MySQL, Postgres, and others have a mature ecosystem with a wide range of tools, frameworks, and community support. Also, we have a standardized query language like the SQL, which is a structured query language, is a standardized language for querying and managing databases, making it easier to find developers and tools. Example for that, the enterprise application with the long life cycle that require stability and mature support system. Number 4, you use SQL for data integrity. Integrity. Okay. So, foreign keys and relationships. So SQL databases enforce relationships between tables through foreign keys, ensuring relational integrity. Also, there is normalization, which data can be normalized to reduce redundancy and improve data integrity. Example for that: customer relationship management, which is a CRM systems, and content management system, CMS system that requires structured relationship between entities. And I would say, lastly, it will be read and write consistency. Read and write consistency. Let's call it con like that. So, in the ACID compliance, because SQL databases are typically ACID compliant, ensuring that all database transactions are processed reliably. Example of that: banking systems, online transaction processing systems, and systems where data integrity is crucial and is one of the main fundamentals of the system. Also, it's important to know that there is a hybrid approach that involves using both the SQL and NoSQL. There is a polyglot persistence. Let's just try to type it here. A polyglot persistent. In a complex application, you might use a combination of SQL and NoSQL databases to leverage the strength of both. For example, using a SQL for transactional data and NoSQL for handling large-scale unstructured data. Example for that, in an e-commerce platform, using a SQL for order processing and NoSQL for storing user session and product catalog, for example. Also, there is evolving requirements, like you should consider how your data and application requirements might evolve. If your data model is likely to change frequently or grow unpredictably, NoSQL might provide more flexibility for that. Example for that, if you are startups and rapidly evolving businesses where the data module is not yet fully defined. Also, there is another thing that is quite important, which is the consistency. VS availability. Availability. So SQL databases generally prioritize consistency, with making them suitable for applications where data integrity is crucial. NoSQL databases often prioritize availability and partition tolerance, following the CAP theorem, making them suitable for distributed systems where downtime is not acceptable. Example for that: SQL great for financial transaction, NoSQL for global scale applications like content delivery networks, for example. So the choice between a SQL and NoSQL depends on your application's need, and SQL databases are better fit for structured data, complex queries, and scenarios requiring strict data integrity and consistency. And I would say by default, you should go with a SQL database. You should go with a SQL database. NoSQL database, on the other hand, are more suitable for unstructured or semi-structured data, scalability and performance in specific use cases. Understanding your application's requirement and the conversation with your interviewer will make you decide the better choice between SQL and NoSQL. So make sure that you have the right conversation and you're asking the right questions with your interviewer. And when he or she asks you, why do you choose SQL? Why do you choose NoSQL? You should give him or her one of these answers if you have SQL, and you should give him one of these answers if you are working with NoSQL. And also, you should make in your mind the consistency and availability comparison. So that's it for this video, and see you in the future.